whatever he can get into that lane with comfort with usually means really good things for EDG in that early game.
Yeah, and I want to touch on the Twisted Fate for a moment as well, because both of these respective mid laners played it during their playoffs, and I actually love the way AHQ played a fairly global comp. They had Rek'Sai in the jungle, and they had TP Hecarim top laner, and they just made so many ganks into Anne's lane over and over and over, and executed really, really well. The scary map pressure that type of comp offers you is available, but it has just been taken off the table.
C bans as well. Mako not getting that Annie. Don't think it's anything he's going to be seeing this tournament. We saw that happen all the way through the LPL once he started on that support.
I can't believe that AHQ banned Rek'Sai over Sejuani in this game. I know that Rek'Sai has good early games, but Clear Love's ultimates on Sejuani are ridiculously good right here. Maybe they're trading it for the Kalista pick because that's a heavily banned champion worldwide. But man, that's a terrifying thing to give up.
Very quickly focusing that Kalista for Anne. He did have a pentakill coming out of the league as they won it. So hopefully focus on him. He can bring that momentum into the game and he can go strong against Deft this game. Be interesting if those lanes even match up. But he does get that Kalista away from Deft.
Yeah, and just interesting priority. Yes, you are delaying, you know, the Kalista, but Sliv is still available. A lot of these other priority AD carries, allowing a team to get both Hecarim and Sejuani on the current patch with the power that they have, with the initiating tools, the flanking. This is League of Legends in hard mode if you're AHQ.
Deft's Jinx is still left as well if they decide to go with that type of composition. It could be very scary. We are going to get Koro, on Clear Love for Hecarim there. It's going to be teleporting in with home guards. So.
Gnar was available, so Koro favoring the Hecarim over the Gnar, despite the fact that it wasn't banned out.
Hecarim is banned so frequently. Sometimes we talk about these Gnar players, they would be playing Hecarim if it's available. Early on, EDG comes out with really good power picks right here. And they're picking well for the team fights as well already with Alistar and Sejuani. AHQ also has their own blend of things, stuff that they have played in the past.
Yeah, and of course Mounson's still playing Jarvan, even on the current patch. One of his most played, especially during the playoffs. And Ziv, currently undefeated on Gnar. He's got a 4-0 record throughout the course of their playoffs. He's going up against Koro's Hecarim. And again, I mean, you see a mid-game team fight power from AHQ, but I'm just scared of all of that front line from EDG.
Well, that Kalista pickup along with the Jarvan definitely putting kind of a cancel on the Jinx if Deft wanted to take it. Cannot get out of that Cataclysm Mountain likes to create. Deft getting the proposal, but it looks like he's actually going to go with the Urgot, something we definitely saw him playing over in the LPL quite often, one of his main AD carries.
All right, and the main thing here is Pons brought out a new pick here, Cassiopeia in the mid lane.
Yeah.
It's something that he should be able to play because Pon can show that he plays everything, but it's a break from the backline assassin-focused things that he has been playing in the mid lane. He also had to blind pick this into whatever Westdoor has. Westdoor hasn't really shown a difference from his old classic champions. Maybe we actually end up seeing a Fizz here.
Yeah, he got the option available. The bigger question I have for HQ, how do they plan on burning through all of those tanks with the Kalista damage and Gnar? Kalista, yes, can do well, but I don't see her getting rid of a Hecarim, a Sejuani, and Alistar, and an Urgot with his shield and his ultimate down. There is so much beefiness for EDG to run rampant against AHQ.
Perfect. Should have thought of the Karthus right here. Honestly, with these big balled-up team fights, look at the short ranges on EDG.
Right.
That is 3 melee champions and an Urgot who swaps himself into the middle of things. If Westdoor can sit in the right spot on his Karthus, or if people can get trapped inside the Cataclysm with the Karthus in there, it is the pick for the team fight, dragon-focused game that we are probably going to end up seeing here.
He brought out Karthus in the 3-0 versus TPA, the 3-1 versus Yowie Flash Wolves in the finals, and now he's going to bring it out here at the midseason Invitational. Doing quite well in those games. Karthus is definitely still something Westdoor likes to pick up.
Definitely. The problem is it lost to Yowie Flash Wolves in that very first game. I didn't feel like AHQ were able to find the team fights that they necessarily needed or wanted, but this time round, with the composition that EDG have, it should be a lot easier. Should being the operative word in that statement.
Yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda could be the names that a lot of people start saying after this one. This is now our first look of the final 2 teams that are at MSI. After this game, we will have seen everyone have their first go at it.
That's right.
Honestly, while EDG did pick up a lot of beef early on, AHQ has picked up a lot of stuff that can just sit in that beef and hopefully marinate a little bit and finish them off.
We'll see what can be served up for us. Once again, we'll be looking to Twitter to see how you think this game will go. Tweet hashtag EDG win or hashtag AHQ win to @LOL eSports. As usual, we'll tally those up and get the vote halfway through the game or somewhere in there. We definitely saw a lot of votes coming up for Besiktas last time. That fan base, very, very big. We'll see whose fans are standing behind them here as EDG takes on AHQ for our third game of the day here at the midseason Invitational.
A lot of eyes on this Carthus pick. As we said, it didn't work in the finals, it did in the previous rounds.
That's right.
And AHQ, they ran that gauntlet as it were. Fourth, they beat the third seed, they beat the second seed, they beat the first seed. And I think the analyst desk also touched on the story that AHQ had an underwhelming regular season and overwhelming playoffs. EDG the opposite. Overwhelming regular and very lackluster finals. Let's see who will be channeling which performance in their opening game.
Yeah, so a 5-man invade from AHQ. They're trying to get the deep wards in, but it's a blind 5-man invade, so they have no wards on their backside, which basically means EDG can get easy wards into the jungle of AHQ for doing this. Another thing we have to note, Coral picking up the smite on Hecarim against Dinar. If that were to be a straight-up 1v1 matchup, because the smite early on giving fewer combat summoners, the Hecarim and Coral would actually be pushed back fairly easily by Zib. So maybe we end up seeing a little bit of double jungling for EDG, or just a more reserved early laning phase from Coral.
Minions have spawned.
Well, for the time being, Koro currently sitting around that wolf camp. May be kicking that one off. Lane swap not actually being initiated just yet.
Yeah, here's the thing. Even though AHQ was able to place those deep wards, Mako and Deft had actually already ran through the lane.
Right.
So those wards didn't see anybody for AHQ. They have no way of predicting this because no one walked through the lane swap board that it was intended for the scouting.
Looks like we're going to get shared jungle camp on the Krug's top side coming out of Ziv and Mountain, but it's a 1-in-1 camp here. It's going to be Clear Love taking his own and Koro as well. We'll see how this approaches the lane if they can get there to use that level 2.
We did see that Mako was freezing that lane in the bottom, so Anne and Albus with the information and the early Grump camp, so let's see if they do get to that level 2 and what they can do against it. It's just going to be quite difficult against the very beefy Urgot Allison. I think you can see Mako and Def both sort of respecting the range of their opponents, backing off, knowing level 2's on the way.
Level 2, ridiculously important for both of these combos. If you do not respect the Callista Thresh level 2, you will die. At this point, EDG kind of called the lane swap improperly. They probably would have done both Krugs so they could match the Gromp that AHQ did, but because they only did one Krug and then froze the lane, they had to concede that bottom lane level 2 power spike to AHQ and therefore give Anne and Albus control of the lane.
Gotta feel good for AHQ here. Those first 2 picks were Anne and Albus's Thresh and Callista, so to get that in a nice strong lane early is going to keep the momentum up for them. Pawn now trading in the mid lane. As you can see, their stats a bit higher for Westor in that, but the kill participation from Pawn a little more grisly.
Mountain going for a gank. No flash possible on Coral. There they go.
He gets a knockup. Koro's in trouble, continuing to run away. Remember, there's no summoner. The boomerang's not enough. Mountain and Ziv unable to get the killing blow.
If Ziv had been able to poke down Coral a little bit more, the idea of that gank was sound, but Coral had an experience edge. He was healing up just enough for the minion wave, and he survives a very bold gank there by Mountain, flashing in behind the turret.
Yeah, cloth armor definitely helping out that one. We do see the death sentence connecting on Miko, but minion wave just under the tower, and Deft gonna have some free time to farm.
Great little play there by Koro to stay in the lane and soak up those minions, even though he got pushed out. Still higher than Ziv in that situation. Back to the mid here, 25-21. Pawn looking to get in the face of Westor just a little bit with those miasmas to keep him out of range.
Yeah, I still love the idea of Mountain's early gank on the smiteless Hecarim. So infrequently do you see a flashless top laner punished by early ganks, because very frequently you end up lane swapping that. EDG bold enough to lane that 1v1, and Koro doesn't actually get punished for it. I just really like the idea of the gank. Because the gank burned the flash and it still wasn't successful and Koro was able to stay in lane, it's actually to huge benefit for EDG.
Oh, Clear Love picking up the Scuttle Crab in the Do-Si-Do in the river here with Mountain. Could be heading down towards the bottom lane. Doesn't look like they have too much awareness, but they're just going to keep it safe. No pressure there as both junglers are going to be on the bottom side.
Keep an eye on those CS numbers as we do continue to progress through this very standard laning phase. Sentence goes wide. Clear Love maybe expecting a gank, hanging out just behind the wall. The threat of the Lantern from Albus is very scary.
Nice
and Albus, that is caught out. They're going in for more, but they've turned.
It's going to be Mountain as well coming into this fight. Can he get over the wall? He wants to use it to actually pop somebody up, so he's waiting, and he may just let him walk out. Def very low on mana. He's the one to get grabbed. Forces the flash out. Ignite onto Def. He's chugging the potion, but it's the hit coming in from Albus, and they keep going for Clear Love, but get knocked up by Mako.
Now here comes Pawn. He's instantly exhausted. AHQ fighting a battle on two fronts and looking for Pawn, but it's Mako that's in trouble. He will get turned into beefsteak as Mountain as well as Westall combo. AHQ with the first 2 kills.
Back and forth and back again right there. AHQ with those 2 kills. Tremendous timing by Mountain coming over that wall. Specifically the split focus between EDG trying to lay a trap for the Kalista, but then the presence of mind by Albus to hold onto his Lantern even while he was going to be someone getting aggressed on and throwing it to Ann is the reason they were able to reconfigure, group up, and win that. Additionally, somehow, despite Pawn pushing in the turret all that time, Westdoor beat him to the fight, and that's another big turning point there.
Now the window is also open for that Karthus ultimate to come in, something AHQ, or rather, I'm sorry, EDG has to be aware of when they're fighting around it or within that window.
We'll have to see what Westall can do. Down a little bit of CS thanks to that previous roam, but the kill more than makes up for it. Even Stevens across the board as far as CS is concerned. EDG gonna have to bounce back. Mountain, no early pressure, and again, that Jarvan, there's very few players still playing Jarvan at 5.7. But it seems to work for him.
His damage is going to fall off. The early game is going to be the same as it ever was for Jarvan. In fact, maybe even a little bit easier, because if we think all the way back to when the Center Hulk patch actually happened, there was only 5 AD taken off of Warrior the patch beforehand, and the jungle camps actually started doing less damage. So the early game impact of a Jarvan before he completes his first major jungle item is actually better than it was when Jarvan was in meta. Right. So therefore Mountain can still go around and make those early plays. 2 successful ganks. When he completes his Cinder Hulk, it will be a much different Jarvan than the Warrior Jarvan we used to see, who could take 60% of an AD's carry health with a combo. This is more about controlling team fights, setting up walls for Gnar to Gnar people into, or for Westar to AoE team fights. It's very heavily reliant on him actually getting ahead, so the other team doesn't get the damage to break through the Cinder Hulk Jarvan when he's in the team fights.
Well, 2 assists in that early team fight. A step in the right direction as far as AHQ and Mountain are concerned. That 1,000 gold lead playing into the favor. We're getting close to the 10-minute mark. And Westall as well as Mountain are traditionally down in CS against their opponents. Mountain down 7, Westall normally down 15.
Right.
He's only 7 at the moment with a couple of minutes to go, so doing better than his regional playoffs as far as CS is concerned.
They mentioned on the analyst desk, AHQ falls behind in that early game. This time they're making up for it in kills. In the laning phase, maybe going towards EDG, but they're keeping it.
The greatest strength of AHQ as a team is their team fighting ability.
Yeah.
And the fact that Mountain, it's one of the reasons Mountain still plays Jarvan is because he tries to get them to that team fighting through some early game pressure. And they've been able to do that here because they were able to beat Clear Love to a gank. Now it becomes about this dragon.
Yeah, and you know, again, Analyst Desk alluded to it. Across all the teams in the tournament, AHQ have the earliest first dragon time on average. In comparison, we're about to hit that time when they traditionally secure their first Drake. There's not a whole lot of vision in the area, and it's actually EDG, I feel, who have slightly better wards, but we'll see what AHQ can do with that.
And we also have to see how AHQ can deal with or use Westdoor's Requiem at this point in the game. Any gank or any skirmish that happens anywhere outside the mid lane can be added to by the Karthus. That's actually interesting here. Pawn pushed out the mid lane so heavily, and he might actually tilt the scales here by being a mid laner, ganking bot. Interesting roam.
Slow movement by him. It looks like he's actually called this one off, but maybe waiting for Clear Love in turn. They kind of cross paths here. Mountain also may get this ward to spot out Clear Love.
At this point, Pawn wasted so much time on the roam. He has to get back to wave management. And now it becomes more about the Dragon. Remember, a Sejuani at level 6 is a terrifying thing if he can land that Glacial Prison.
Whoa!
Right, that's a massive Cataclysm.
The Requiem coming down. That's the window they need to not fight in. But AHQ is going to make it happen, and EDG starts to answer very nicely. The home guard teleport coming in. Actually, it's not on the home guard, but the teleport works for Koro. Ziv's a bit too big to keep going on. They should be able to finalize this one out. Koro gets the smite. They're going to transfer this one over to Pawn. Actually, Koro gets it in the end. And a 4 for 2 in favor of EDG.
And they were unable to burst someone at the start of that gank, which is why ClearLove had the time to come up through the lane, land the ultimate, and turn that fight around. Additionally, this time Pawn beat Westar to the roam. Teleports came in at exactly the same time, but at the end of the day, the cluster favors EDG because they were the ones that didn't get bursted out early.
Instantly evening out the scales. EDG managing to balance out the goal. There's the fights again, Jeff.
So, one thing, Mountain commits so hard, he uses EQ for no damage but for distance, therefore he can't get the burst. Then, beautiful dash ult by ClearLove. Watch the teleports come in. The Hecarim basically jumps in as Ziv narded them into the wall, so the follow was a little bit late. Total chaos, and it probably would have been a 3 for 2 if not for Pawn roaming down there at the end to pick up Ziv.
That was an amazing flash by Mako. He put himself, where you say goal side to the Fate's call. That's how Deft flashed out of the Cataclysm, because Mako got popped, not Deft. Very fast thinking by Mako to flash inside the Cataclysm to save his AD carry.
Well played indeed. EDG's team fighting, giving them the advantage, in fact, as again, both junglers have moved into this Dragon Pit to clear out the vision. Several times. It's actually ClearLove that started this, but he did walk straight over an AHQ ward. He's actually going to back away, as I think he spotted Mountain as well. You can feel both teams want to get their hands on this Dragon, and they're looking to see if they can find a crack in their opponent's armor to go for that objective.
Well, right now that teleport of Koro is down. It may be something very helpful if they can get number priorities on the bottom side of this map. But right now we still have quite an even dual lane in the bot, so it's not really decided.
Yeah, and that even, laning phase at 12 minutes is favoring Koro. He's farming up, he's ahead of Ziv, he's got kills, he's got time, and he's scaling quite well.
Everything is moving down bottom lane this match as well. ClearLove has been living down here, and it makes the teleport smite top laner almost impossible to punish at this point because we know the Dragon is such a high priority. So Koro should be able to basically free farm, and it makes it really difficult for either of these bottom lanes to commit because there is so much pressure from both sides being dictated onto that bottom lane. And the next person who slips up is going to forfeit the Dragon.
And I feel like this is smart play from EDG because if you go back and watch AHQ's playoff run, a lot of their ganks is focused around Ann. Ann is probably the primary carry in terms of helping them win games. Westar's the star, but it's Ann that does a lot of the groundwork and the actual heavy lifting. And you constantly see Mountain going into that lane. You constantly see him trying. When Westar was in TF, he was going down to the lane, and you can see in ClearLove's positioning, Pawn's positioning, they're waiting for that fight just out of sight.
Hopefully it doesn't backfire for them with him going in the bottom lane so much. The kills have gone onto Westar and Ziv. Not too bad. Still going to get pressure out of them. And 3 assists to Ann and Albus. Full kill participation from Mountain as he keeps himself omnipresent in this game.
And we have to note that pink ward down in the bottom lane. It has existed for about 4 minutes there because EDG hasn't pushed through the lane far enough to clear that ward. It's another reason ClearLove keeps seeing these mini opportunities in that bottom lane because he knows that AHQ is relatively pushed. It's just a matter of actually getting ward control on that river so he can take an appropriate route for himself.
Animal Brawl in the top lane. It does not look like these guys are using wet noodles this time. They are throwing some hard punches left and right, and Ziv got a very nice Gnar bar on that one. Mega Gnar was just what he needed.
Definitely working in his favor, and I think some props to AHQ as far as their laning is concerned. Good CS numbers in their top and mid lane, and just marginally behind Deft, but he does have a wave and a half, 2 waves there to farm up, so keeping himself relevant as far as that's concerned, which is also something, we mentioned how Westar Mountain do fall behind traditionally. but they're keeping themselves up this time. I'm just worried about the scaling that EDG does have in their favor.
Yeah, this is an EDG-like game. Here we go, gank on Albus.
Thrown right into the fire. Face
Oh!
quite a bit used there. And a save. I don't know why Albus flashed. He definitely wanted the for sure safety there, but EDG is going to have some good pressure now.
It was an Alistair flash burn, but they burn all of Thresh's health bar as well as the Fate's Call. So a bit of a dangerous Dragon for AHQ to contest, but Speed trying on depth. He wants to swap.
Oh, he's going to get the swap. Mako knocks him up. And can he get to the lantern? No, because he's knocked away from it. It's not over yet as the teleports come in for more action.
Deft cuts him down. He wants more body parts to attach to that Urgot. Mountain now onto Deft. This didn't work last time, and Mountain's actually forced to flash out. Civ doing some work on the backside, but he was really being peeled by Mako as EDG starts to scramble and find the members of AHQ. 1 for 2.
AHQ absolutely
1 for 3.
steamrolled.
Sorry.
Like moths to a... What is it, a moth killer? What do you call it? Moth to a flame. A bad idea right there because they'd already lost so much, but they're attracted to that dragon. EDG knew it. There was the speed shrine right there. A disaster for AHQ and a nice play by EDG.
AHQ always fights around dragons. It's one of the things that they consistently do. They want to go for it. They want that objective. And this time around, it cost them. That's the second big team fight in a row that EDG have just simply outclassed them.
Absolutely amazing.
I mean, look, first off, Thresh is super low. Deft uses the position reverser to get in range to kill the Thresh, which is beautiful. Then Mako pushes Ann away from the Lantern, which was going to disappear anyway since Deft was doing his job too. At this point, HQ's already committed, so they're trapped in the fight since they ended up teleporting down. One of those times where you actually have to concede first Dragon because EDG was in clear position to win that with speed tried control as well as the pre-fight poke.
All that pressure from AHQ in the bottom lane, and now Deft has 2 kills after those fights. They put so much on him. They tried not to let that Urgot get going, and now he has his 2 kills. Remember, if you want your voice heard, add that hashtag to your tweets on social media as you get through. We got some good games going on, and they're only setting the bar higher here as we are now in a game 3.
Well, Koro's Hecarim, 3-0-1. He's got a Cinderhole completed, got a Glacial Shroud picked up. He's already terrifying and tanky, and Love is looking for more fight, but we did see Mountain just off the side of the screen. Everything is about this bottom lane. Everything.
Why not?
Always.
Why not? Basically, mid lane is a farm off right here between Pawn and Westor. Westor is almost always conceding turret pressure to Pawn, so unless Mountain was going to gank Pawn, there's no reason for Clear Love to go elsewhere right now. He knows Koro is free farming and will outscale at this point. And here we go. Maybe if Clear Love would have been there, the one time he's not.
Requiem window coming in. Can they make the nightmare? And they do for Deft. Mako's now going to have a tough time getting out of this, but we got a double rotation down Clear Love as well as Pawn is going to stop that fight.
This time, Mountain used the Lantern for distance and the EQ combo for the damage, which allowed him to dunk down Deft. Yeah. And they did find that window where Clear Love wasn't actually bottom lane, so they're able to get something back. This is still a game yet.
Yeah, very important for AHQ. They should secure this tower as well. Albus playing defensive on the back line. Just trying to deny as many minions as possible. I think all of that focus on bottom lane, all of that pressure, one momentary lapse, one momentary mistake, and all of a sudden AHQ get the kills and the tower. Koro and Ziv continue to trade aggressively in this top lane.
Very, very aggressively. Even with that Skirmisher is not really able to do much against Ziv here as he keeps pressuring it in. A 3-0-1 Koro, however, we have not seen the implications of his home guard teleport in this game. Could be very big, and Requiem's catching EDG off guard. When will the Hecarim Onslaught of Shadows home guard catch AHQ off guard?
There's going to be 2 very powerful top laners in this game. I really want to see how hard Koro is to kill with those 3 kills, plus the Cinder Hulk early, especially when he's able to complete these next 2 items he's going to be working on. He's probably working on Frozen Heart and Spirit Visage as his next 2. Those big 3 tank items for Hecarim make him an absolute menace, which Kalista, while Kalista's a great AD carry, does have a hard time working through some hyper tanks, which is what Sejuani and Hecarim may end up becoming this game. It's that EDG late game scaling we may end up keep talking about, but they are in position to create some very tanky fights.
I'm very interested to see how Ann wants to handle that front line with that attack speed dagger. If he goes the traditional BT into Hurricane, it's going to take a lot of those spears to rend away EDG's tank line. Well, 20 minutes on the clock will be when Baron spawns, so that's important for EDG because they are the mid-game Baron team. That's a good gnaw backwards. Koro, even under turret shots, but still has his Onslaught of Shadows if he needed it. Not this time, though.
Healing up, not too much of a problem for him, but a little bit of a funny play coming in. Those guys are on their own island in the top lane for quite some time here, both with 3 kills, so they want to see who can punch harder right now. 30,000 gold pretty much across the board, as you say, Trevor. Even Stevens, as EDG looks to even up the turrets as well.
And without Westor anywhere nearby, there's not a lot of wave clear or safe wave clear against that sort of front line. So even trade as far as towers are concerned, and EDG take a small gold lead thanks to the CS and extra kill in their back pockets.
Yeah, considering this game is going to be so teamfight focused as well, I'm a little bit surprised by ClearLove Spectre's Cal there on Sejuani. Going Aegis into Locket I think would have been much more well advised, especially considering EDG is going to be a big ball of tanks in teamfights sitting in Karthus Defile if things go well for Westor. Basically, by not going the Aegis, they put a much higher priority on getting Karthus out of fights. So, assuming they know what's up here, Mako should be headbutting Westor out of teamfights near deaths, or they should be really, really being careful not to stay around in that Karthus Defile.
A lot of pressure then on Mako to make the right call. But we've had a 21-minute laning phase with multiple repeated ganks down into the bottom lane. I think we're in for another long period of play because Dragon is only up in 30 seconds. That's Dragon number 2 at 21 minutes. And for a team like AHQ, who do traditionally put a lot of emphasis on that objective, this is not what they're used to doing. EDG, on the other hand, they're not really the 5 Dragon team.
Well, again, they get the crab right before the Dragon. That's exactly when you want to take it, so they can now try and speed Trine off to get the swap or an Alistair initiation like they did last time. The river belongs to EDG for the most part. Top lane did go down. Top laner teleport timers have been pretty much identical this entire time. AHQ has to be incredibly careful not to get poked down before the fight like they did last time, because they do not want to go down 2 dragons to 0.
The intentions of EDG were to definitely take a fast fight. You could see Koro trying to hatch his home guards on the base, but he finally left to clear this top wave and pressure that top turret once again. Maybe they can get Ziv into a bad spot on entering this fight. Mid also very close to going down here. EDG, quite a bit of options.
There's a lot of options for both teams, and neither of them actually made a committed move towards that Dragon yet. I think the fact that the mid tower is so low gives them the opportunity, but look at AHQ from the side. Can Albus get a death sentence? The answer will be no.
It's a lot of damage too. Again, Albus is going to be starting this next fight at very low health. Whether it's the Dragon or the mid lane, EDG now has 2 points with which to take advantages off of.
And look at the minimap. Koro is already in the mid lane. Ziv trying to make his way down, but Meganar's active. That's a smite down onto Westor, and the exhaust is replied.
They're trying to get him down. EDG is on the Dragon right now. Grabbed by ClearLove. Koro gets out on that one. Whoa! And misses and gets immediately swapped by Def to save it. He then goes into the fight. Mountain still with his ultimate up, but I think it's all disengaged from this time out for AHQ. There's the Fate's call. He's back in, but it missed. It completely missed, and AHQ actually still wants it.
It's one of those super tank fights that we keep talking about. Def running low on mana, has down to the bottom lane, and has got a kill onto Mako. But here comes the power pony. Koro's got one, ClearLove with another. Mountain is in retreat, but it's not enough. Ziv goes down, and that's an EDG whitewash.
The fight was so long, Koro got to play twice. He was the one that was initiated on. He goes back, recalls, teleports in with home guard, and is the difference maker. Again, that fight was so scattered, but it was ClearLove Sejuani ultimate, and mainly the headiness of Koro to fight twice there.
Ziv not using Meganar. It had procced already on the way to the fight, and I definitely want to hear Crumbs' opinion on this Hecarim versus Gnar, considering how much he was discussing the top lane matches on the analyst desk. But EDG, 3,000 gold in the lead.
One more time.
Here's that fight again.
Yeah, it begins and ends with Koro. Koro burns so much here. Keep in mind, EDG is actually leveraging this mid lane pressure by taking the Dragon uncontested. Then, not only does he absorb that, he jukes around the EQ. Then, the fight just kind of breaks into chaos. Back and forth and back again. It seems like HQ always wants to continue this fight. Nice juke, nice flash there by Pawn in order to get out. And HQ feels like they have something, but they're not paying attention to ClearLove's holding of the Sejuani ultimate. Boom, onto 4. And there's a home guard teleport. The turning point. The first pick Sejuani from ClearLove because of his ability to land ultimate after ultimate in team fights. And Koro, the beast he's been all year with the home guard TP.
Holding it for so long on that Glacial Prison, the right decision by ClearLove. One of the junglers that actually a lot of people touting as the #1 jungler at this tournament. ClearLove off to a great start. Look at all the vision around Baron. EDG starting to set up that zone of control and saying, we dare you to face check us, and the support that it'll give to take down this top outer turret. It's the last one remaining for EDG to knock down before they go deeper into AHQ territory.
Already even getting the chance to mitigate against that Requiem. A Banshee's Veil now for ClearLove. It's going to keep him quite protected. Seeing a lot of core items come out on the side of EDG now. They're kind of spiking them very hard. The Frozen Heart now finished for Koro. He's got that along with the Spirit Visage, and he's already been making the plays. 5-0-1 for him on that head.
It's incredibly difficult for AHQ to kill Koro at this point in the game. They have very few tools to do so. They have the 2 items on, and Westor is still working on his major need, the Large Rod item, and EDG is just looking to get picks.
And that's going to be Mountain trying to dive in. He's got a good collapse on the team, but it looks like EDG's able to assess this one just right. Westor very low, but in a great spot to defile damage. That's the knockup coming in. Can they get out? EDG, oh, huge damage from the Requiem, and that's going to give him enough time to not really live in the fight. Actually, I am wrong. That is Ziv going down. I thought he was going to be able to take out Mako and turn to another one, but no, EDG micro in and out perfectly.
AHQ will not have a more befitting fight for Karthus than that one, and they still were not able to finish them at that point. EDG with just enough gold lead to deal with all the damage that came through there. Koro, we said they were going to have a hard time killing him. He comes out of that fight with nearly full health after all of that chaos. And that is the difference right there. Westor did everything he could. AHQ had a beautiful Gnar ultimate. Everything kind of went well for them, but EDG still comes out on top.
And keep in mind, the first 2 picks by AHQ was Kalista and Thresh, who are currently 147, 246. They gave up that Hecarim. It was available for them, and they opted not into it. There's that team fight again.
Yeah, teleport comes in as soon as Mountain begins to get picked off. Mountain still gets off a Cataclysm, and Pawn actually swapped himself to the wrong side of the wall right there because he was trying to create a nice pick. Of course, he swapped it and is able to die right there. But then, honestly, look at them sitting in that defile. It ended up being not quite enough.
No, not this time around. And as you touched on, Jat, Maiko actually did knock back Westor during the course of that fight. Bluebird picked up, I believe, who was that Pawn. And AHQ looking for more. They're down 5,000 gold, trying to set up a fight.
And now the important thing is Mako has also completed the Locket of the Iron Solari. He started Kindle Gem, but now he's finished it right off. So not only do they get the brute manic resistance, but they will also get the shield from the active. And they are in position to bully AHQ right now. The confidence they should have after that last team fight.
So Trevor, you were saying a little hard to take down tanks. Got a little excited there at that front end burst, but that's all that AHQ has is that front end burst. There was no damage to follow up after that, and EDG was able to just walk around easy.
If Anne is dead, there is no way to finish it off. Yes, the burst from Westor in a great position worked, but you need him to clean up, and unfortunately, Kalista is not a mega tank killer. Koro doesn't even care about the tower.
No need to. That guy is completely out of control right now. He has 12,000 gold, which is 1,500 more than the next closest player in the game right now. That's including his own team. He gets a local gold as well as a global gold for that next turret.
Absolutely crazy. EDG coming in with a fantastic composition. Pawn going for the Cassio this game, playing it safer in the mid lane. 1-1-6. Mako gets an Alistar, plays very much like his Annie, and they can continue to fight the same way.
And I think you have to take a step back and look at EDG's performance this game. Much like we did earlier in the day with Fnatic. Contrast the team's performance versus their most recent local match. Of course, EDG did defeat LGD, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, if memory serves correctly.
Yep.
And they did not look this clean. They did not look this coordinated. The team fights are great. EDG on the right place. They even countered AHQ's favoritism and trend to gank the bottom lane because Pawn rotated multiple times. ClearLove was available for counter ganks. It's intelligent, controlled, calculated from the #1 Chinese squad.
Yeah, when we were watching that series they had against LGD again a couple days back, it seemed like none of the fights EDG took were planned. It was mainly, hey, someone was killing a pink ward, so everything ended up flying off. This time EDG is making the plays, like that flash ultimate from Pawn. And here comes Koro.
Koro come flying in, not going to have the home guard right away since it's tagged, but they do get a nice ultimate to continue the fight. Clearlove just on the edge of hand, but he's getting the kite back. He will eventually have to be caught out by this one. Dodges the Arctic Assault, but he wants to stay in the fight. How many arrows does he have? Clearlove rend it. Takes about half his HP on that one, and EDG's trying to figure out who they want. Very scattered, very nice to get the Karthus down outside of the fight, but they're not even afraid to fight in it.
They are not, and is finally alive, but what are you going to do against those tanks? He hops over the wall.
How is he still alive?
Cheeky play.
I mean, Ann is playing his heart out right now, but there's not much he can do outside of stacking 1,000 arrows inside of Clearlove before rending, because he was hitting him for an eternity, and he still couldn't even take him down. At that point, they lose 2, despite so much being burnt on Ann as he's kiting backwards. It was actually 3 dead. The fight went on for so long, Mountain ended up coming back.
If ever you needed more proof that Kalista cannot kill tanks, that was it. Ann had 20, 30 spears, I felt, in Clearlove Sejuani, and it just was not
but
enough.
flesh wound.
Still has no Last Whisper is a critical thing right here. He has been pushed back because he could not pick up any kills in those crazy
Absolutely.
fights. With Last Whisper now, he would have a slightly better chance, but it's still going to be a critless build, which is going to diminish his ability to cut through EDG's tanks at this point, and
we draw back.
all he can do.
We draw back to the early game again. Even champion select Kalista Thresh immediately. Focus from Mountain in the bottom lane to help that, as well as Westor getting a few kills off Requiem. All of those were assists for Ann, not kills.
We actually had our observers go back and double check. He had 15 spears in for that range. So that's at least 15 auto attacks right there on a Clearlove, as well as the damage. No, couldn't get him.
No, he couldn't, but Koro does find Ann. Ann's in trouble, and he is down. Westall gets caught by the Glacial Prison. He's in full retreat, and EDG, a running rampage of AHQ.
Ziv not even close to getting a Gnar. They all have to scatter. A triple kill coming in now for Koro. The legendary horse, 10-0-6, and Deft is going to finish off Albus just to boot on the fight. Ziv throwing out some wards to try and stop this, but it is just a grind now from EDG. They have figured out AHQ, and now they're going to be pressuring down with the Baron.
Koro running away with this game,
Absolutely.
as is EDG.
What a statement.
Carry top laners are still here, guys.
Koro has been one. He is a monster of the top lane. I mean, just looking at this one, we talked about Ann needing 15 auto attacks to not even take down Sejuani. Koro takes a swing at him and takes him below half health.
KO'd.
Another beautiful ultimate from Clearlove over the wall right here. Something about these team compositions that is very apparent. When both teams are fairly tanky and heavily melee focused, the team fights will be very cluttered. So these games do end up snowballing out of control since both teams are dedicated on just team fighting. EDG was able to win those team fights early, and now they are just hammering their advantage home again and again, and not allowing AHQ a time to recover by farming or picking to equalize the team fights, and they're just forcing team fight after team fight.
Yeah, and regardless of the lead that EDG have built up now, this is one of the most definitive teams at closing a game out. Once they have that lead, they really know how to push down the final objectives. When we were in that replay, we did actually see, I believe, Deft stealing away the blue buff from AHQ. EDG just pushing out the waves. They've got great vision in the top half of the map. Baron empowered minions. There's only one inner turret there in that top lane left to knock down, and EDG instantly group up. Koro doesn't have TP yet, but he's barreling down that mid lane with those Home Guard and Trinity Force.
And their EDG is just so strong right now, able to start surplusing these items. Another Banshee's Veil, 3 Frozen Hearts. Whoever Ann's trying to hit is going to be within that aura in these balled up fights. It is going to be even harder now. Things are only weighing against AHQ. Trying to guard this last second tier turret. They are going to have to catch a big mistake off of EDG to really claw back into this one. 14,000 gold down. They're doing what they can.
And just really nice resistance stacking by everyone on EDG as well. Everyone on their team, when they're in range of the locket, has over 100 magic resistance. More on some people, so not even a Void Staff on Westor. Even if he sits in the middle, they're done.
Good Goodbye, and the insta-flash from Def. AHQ now scattering. Despite that fantastic gnaw, it's not going to be enough. Koro dives the backline of the onslaught to Shadows. Where Story's down. Requiem starts to get channeled, and here's the damage on EDG.
Still, it's that end damage now, and not enough to keep them alive in the fight. It's really not even tickling EDG at this point, as they have the base to themselves. They ace AHQ.
They get a lead. They know how to hammer it home. They still have the Baron buff. That's a 5-for-1. They're pushing on the Nexus.
We know
Impus.
this is how EDG does it. Once they can go for Baron, they go for the win. It's almost a prerequisite to every one of their games, whether it's at 20 minutes or now at 34 minutes. 28-10. EDG come out strong with a 35-minute game over AHQ, and Def sacrifices himself.
What a fantastic win for EDG.